Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, salatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya wal mursalin, Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una, wanfa'na bima tu'allimuna, wa zidna bi fadlika ilman wa ta'liman, innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. Okay, كتاب الصوم الفصل الأول عن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دخل شهر رمضان فتحت أبواب السماء وفي رواية فتحت أبواب الجنة وغلقت أبواب جهنم وسلسلت الشياطين وفي رواية فتحت أبواب الرحمة متفق عليه. So here it says the devils are all tied up, right? سلسلت, they're all tied up. So the point is it's easier to go to paradise and it's harder to go to hell. And the devils are tied up, but not all the devils, right? Because we see the shayateen of ints are still around, right? So what does it mean is many or most shayateen are tied up, not all, right? But it's one useful thing or one very concerning thing is you're fasting Ramadan and you still have these same thoughts. You say, well, hang on a minute. I used to have 5 types of thoughts, right? Or usually there's 5 types of thoughts that come to your mind. There's a kind of a mechanical thought, like maths, like, well, 3 times 3 times 3, hang on a minute, 3 times, 27, right? So that kind of thought, what is 3 times 3 times 3? That's like a mechanical thought. It's not really good or bad. It's more just like processing, right? Like, oh, look at the word asim. It begins with an A, right? Right? So like that's not really anything. It's kind of like it's just nothing, negative, like just your human processing kind of thoughts. Um, but in reality, it will connect to other things as well. It's more like a function, a functioning thing that is used by the other thoughts. So then we have angelic thoughts. So suddenly you think, I should go and say sorry to that person. I should pray now, or I shouldn't pray later, right? Suddenly this thought comes to you, right? So this is an angelic thought, right? To do good deeds. Then you have Rahmani thoughts, right? Thoughts that are things come to you that are part of the bigger picture, right? So I should go and pray. That's part of the lower picture, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate goal of my life, bigger picture. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can solve this problem. He is the source of everything, right? That's the that's what's called a Rahmani picture. It gives you the about Tawheed, right? Seeing the big picture, right? The soul feeling the big picture of things, right? And so in reality, that's not really an intrusion, right? That's the nature, right? It's like um, like imagine for example someone's speaking to you, right? Or you go out and you go out for example on the sea and you can hear the sea and the waves and the birds, but then you're listening to like death metal really, really loud. So like because there's like this death metal in your ear that's really, really loud, you can't hear the normal ambience. So you take off this death metal or hip hop or whatever it is that's in your ears, and then you can suddenly just step out and like passively hear the sea and the ocean and the wind and the birds. Like so the Rahmani thoughts, this is the fitrah, right? That if you just sat there, the waves of ma'ani, the waves of divine um, obviousness and divine oneness, they just come over you. The only reason we don't experience that is because we're so messed up, right? It's basically every single one of us, we have this whole throng of crazy ideas like running around in our heads. And if we just turned it all off, it would just become natural. So the normal passive thing is dhikr, right? Dhikr is not something you have to do with takalluf. Dhikr is something you do by just being normal again. But we have to do takalluf because it's so weird. It's like ripping off these headphones from your ears, right? And turning off the music, right? Or like someone screaming in your head, you have to push them away from you, right? So we have like that's how we are. Like we have all these intrusive things in our head so that we don't get the fitrah. So the angelic thoughts, that's an angel coming to you and saying, hey, why don't you give that guy some money? Or why don't you go to sleep early so you can wake up early, do something good, right? So that's the kind of intrudes in your life. Whereas the Rahmani thing is not really like that, right? It's more just the fitrah, the unspoiled natural fitrah, right? Um, so that's Rahmani, angelic, normal. And then you've got uh, Nafsani. which is the nafs saying, I want, right? I want to be the one talking. I want to be the one who's right. I want to get a better grade. I want to achieve. I want to go to sleep. I want to eat, right? Whatever it is, right? So curiosity, right? I wonder what's in that book, right? Just curious, right? Click, spend another 5 minutes on YouTube. This is the nafsanic, right? Just I want the stupid wants, the dumb stupid wants that aren't connected to halal or haram. It's just want, right? It's just want, unrefined want, right? And then you have the shaitani thoughts, which are specifically manipulative to direct you away from that which is good to the haram, makruh, etc. Doubts about Allah, specifically looking at this thing. So basically, like the shaitan teams up with the nafs, right? So when the shaitan comes and doesn't find the nafs, it's very hard, right? Like I just came from jiu-jitsu class right now, and I'm really bad at jiu-jitsu. I don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, so I don't even know how but um, it's like you give somebody this, now they can do this, right? So the shaitan comes and he's looking for the ma'khadh, right? Where can he grab you? When he finds that you don't want anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he really kind of it's kind of hard to get hold of you, right? So he's going to try and now change that. He has to now work on something where there's no grip, right? Um, or somebody climbing a mountain, right? And smooth rocks. It's pretty hard, right? A good climber can do it, but it's like you're trying to find things where there's really very little grip, right? It's very, very hard. So you have to play with things, twist you this way, twist you that way. Um, but in general, it's very, very hard. When it comes to you, you're like this person is obsessed with the opposite sex. Suddenly, the shaitan, he's on a roll. He's obsessed with food. He's obsessed with knowledge. He wants to know stuff. And so then you say, hey, do you want to become a sheikh? Yes, I want to become a sheikh. So then he's like, I want to study this and study this and this. So the shaitan just pulling him through his hifz of the Quran, through his Dawrah and Hadith, through his fatwa class, and the shaitan's just pulling him the whole time. And he has no idea because he wants. He has want, right? But if you don't want to want, and you just want to serve, right? Just like I've given up on everything. I'm not interested in this. Like, I just wanna be a slave of Allah. I just want to do something that Allah loves. I'm not interested in achieving or not achieving, or being the sheikh or not being the sheikh, or understanding or not understanding. I'm not interested. I'm dead, right? I've died already, and I've come back, and I'm just quiet. And whatever I can do, I'll do. If I can't do it, alhamdulillah, I won't be able to do it. That's fine, right? So now the shaitan he finds it very difficult because there's zuhud, right? There's no tama', there's no want, and there's no greed. So you have the greed in it, and then you got the shaitan. So anyway, so now it's Ramadan, and what's going to happen then is um, the the shaitan thoughts are going to be less. Okay, so right, and then what's going to happen is through the fasting, you are saying no to your nafs. So the nafs, right, as Imam Busiri says, right, he says, وَالنَّفْسُ كَالطِّفْلِ إِن تُهْمِلْهُ شَبَّ عَلَى حُبِّ الرَّضَاءِ وَإِن تَفْتِهُ يَنْفَطِمِ. He says the nafs is like a baby, right? Here is this 10-year-old baby who is still suckling from his mother. And it's super weird. He sleeps next to his mom, he cannot sleep anywhere else, and he still suckles from his mother. And it's like super weird and like disturbing. Okay? And what happened? It was never weaned. The baby was never weaned. The baby was never got used to sleeping by himself. So that's just how the baby is. And now he's like, whatever. It's like weird. So it's untrained. Whereas when you start training the nafs, it's like, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I don't like this. But then it's like, then it quiets and down, right? That's what happens. So you say to yourself, no, that nafs gets weakened and weakened and weakened and weakened and weakened, right? You say, I want to speak, you can't speak. I want to swear, you can't swear. I want to do this, I want to click this, you can't click this. So the more you say no to your nafs, the more it goes down within balance, right? So you say no, 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 no. So what's happening then is the room for the Rahmani waves, if that makes sense, right? Your sensitivity to the just the divine radio waves of the universe becomes stronger, and it's harder for the shaitan to talk to you because you have less of a nafs. And the shaitan and most shayateen are tied up, so then it's even less. So then it's just basically four things. There's you and the quietened nafs. It's quieted, it's still there though. There's still the calculating, the processing, right? The literate and what's it called? Uh, some somebody who can do math is a numerate, whatever the word is, like things like that, just like calculations, whatever. And then there's the angelic thoughts, which are even more because there's more angels in Ramadan. And then you're just more sensitive to the Rahmani things. Your iman high. But here's the rub: you still find stupid thoughts in your head. Like you walk to the masjid, you're like, "Oh, the imam's showing off." Like, why did you even think that? Right? We walk past somebody and you look at them who you shouldn't look at, or whatever it is, and you realize, man, I'm messed up. Because if the shaitan's gone home, the only person here is me, right? That's what it means, right? So it's like, I have a serious problem. That's what right? So there's lots of things when you say, كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. لعلكم تتقون, there's a lot of things there, right? You're saying no to yourself, which is now helping you resist. But at the same time, you're now realizing how messed up you are. Because if the shaitan isn't speaking to you, where do these thoughts coming from? You, right? It's your own messed upness, right? It's just raw, you, right? And so it's quite an important process, right? It's a very important process. Okay. فتحت أبواب الجنة وغلقت أبواب جهنم وسلسلة الشياطين وفي رواية فتحت أبواب الرحمة. وعن سهل بن سعد الساعدي قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في الجنة ثمانية أبواب منها باب يسمى الريان, the quenched one, right? رويت, I drank my full. أنا ريان, I'm quenched, I've drank my full, right? That's called الريان. وأنت ريا, right? لا يدخله إلا الصائمون. The only people who enter it are the fasters. What does the fasters mean? The people who fast all the time, or the people who fast in Ramadan? Allahu A'lam. وعن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه ومن قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه ومن قام ليلة القدر إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه أي من الصغائر, right? That's what it means. وعنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كل عمل ابن آدم يضاعف الحسنة بعشر أمثالها إلى 700 ضعف, right? Depending on how difficult it was and the sincerity, right? How sincere were you, right? And how difficult was it, right? So this is really important. So you see somebody, you see somebody, he doesn't do that many good deeds and he does quite a lot of bad deeds. So do you know how hard it was for him to do that one good deed? And do you know how hard it is for him to not do this haram? You don't. So you don't know. So you did the same haram thing that he did once, and he did it 10 times. But it was 100 times harder for him to leave it. So that means equivalent, you've done 10 times as many bad deeds as him. Does that make sense? So for example, you said a cuss word once. He did it 10 times, and you noticed it. So yeah, I've done it once, but you've done it 10 times, Habibi. It was 10 times, it was 100 times harder for him to leave it. So he's done it equivalent of, sorry, if it's 1,000 times harder for him to leave it, then you've done that. That means he's done 1/10 of it of what you've done. But so you don't know that. You don't know how hard it is for other people to leave specific sins. You don't. For you, maybe like that's easy. You know? Oh, you just pray, right? Asim's like, yeah, it's I'm in an airport. You just pray. Like, well, how'd you make wudu? It's so weird. Yeah, you just go make wudu. Maybe that's how it is for you, right? As why just wear hijab? It's easy. Just wear a hijab, right? But you don't know that, right? You don't know how You don't know how hard it is for other people to leave something haram or to do an obligation. So when they do it, like the guy just prays the fard and leaves, subhanallah, right? What's he doing? You don't know how hard it was for him to pay the fard, how hard it was to go into sujood, right? Musa, you have kids? Oh, he's gone. Musa dipped. Anyway, Asim, you married? You have kids?
No, not
Not yet. Inshallah
yet.
soon. This Friday, inshallah. Ya Rab. Okay. Anyway, so one of these things is like looking
Yeah.
at you're looking at your kids and we're like, how is this difficult? You know, like, okay, come on, guys, we'll do and pray, and they're like complaining, like, I don't know how this is difficult. Like, it's not that difficult. You're not your kids, are you? So you don't know how hard it is to do things. And there's some other things that you would find really, really hard and they couldn't do, right? So this good action, it could be 7 times bigger than what you've done. And so that's why we should never judge people. The haram is the haram and the halal is the halal. I'm not saying it's halal. You have no idea how hard it was for that person. Some people biologically, right? Ask them, right? If you're going to go into psych, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm dealing with an alcoholic." And it's like you start to realize it's right. There's certain genes, right, predisposed to being an alcoholic or predisposed to, addictions. And it's like for this person to actually fight that addiction is almost impossible. And you're like, you're destroying yourself. You've lost your family, you've lost everything, and you're not getting out of this. Right? You're helping this person deal with this problem, and then you're like, and they actually have a physical predisposition to be addicted, right? Like if it's very, very, very hard for them to leave alcohol, very, very hard for them to leave drugs, right? And for you, it's like, yeah, how is that difficult, right? So, um, we're not here to, and things are not numerical either. It's qualitative. So your khushu' and his khushu', what is it? A 10 and a 5? It's not like that. Right? It's not like that. It's a qualitative difference. So you can't put yourself above or below people and say I'm above that person, below that person. You just say I'm a slave of Allah and that's it. قال تعالى إلا الصوم. It's not his. فإنه لي because it is mine. It's a special thing for me, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees that the person is giving up something that is very special to them. I want to drink, I'm very thirsty, you know, I'm very hungry. So فإنه لي وأنا أجزي بي and I reward it. يدع شهوته وطعامه من أجلي. He leaves off his lust, right? Even the halal lust becomes haram when he's fasting. وطعام on his food من أجلي for my sake. للصائم فرحتان. The person breaking the fast has two joys. عند فطره وفرحة عند لقاء ربه. When he breaks his fast and when he meets his Lord. ولا خلوف. Um, so here he has it with a dhamma. Yeah. So khaluf is a thing. Fa'ul is a thing. Fu'ul is a process, right? Fatur is the thing that you eat for futur, during the process of futur. Sahur is the food that you eat during the process of suhoor. So fa'ul is usually a masdar. Fa'ul is a thing like ana fakhur, I'm proud, right? Akul, somebody who eats a lot, right? So it's usually what they call an ism as opposed to a masdar. Right? Obviously, a masdar is an ism, but that's not what they mean. Um, ولخلوف فم الصائم عند الله أطيب uh, عند الله من ريح المسك, right? And the change of a fasting person's mouth in Allah's eyes is more beloved in Allah's eyes من ريح المسك. Is it possible that عند الله has been accidentally repeated? Does it happen?
Sorry, what was the question?
So the question here it says this word and Allahi comes twice. Do you think it could have just been added accidentally? Right? It is quite possible. So if you look in the different versions, right? So here it says muttafaqun alayhi. If you find the different versions in Sahih Muslim of this hadith, you might find it in one, not the other, right? Because it kind of means the same thing. Like the change of a person's mouth in Allah's eyes is sweeter in Allah's eyes than the smell of musk, right? It's kind of extra. I mean, you don't really need it, right? And so you will find differences like this. Words added, changed order, etc. It's going to happen in the different narrations. والصيام جنة فإذا كان يوم أحدكم فلا يرفث. He should not say anything foul. Right here it says يرفث يتكلم بقبيح, talk about something ugly, right? In the verse فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. Rafath there and also possibly here means words that lead to intercourse, right? So even let's say assuming a halal conversation with one's spouse, right? You shouldn't say things like that, right? ولا يسخب, nor should he shout. So shouting is not a good thing. One of the signs, one of the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad is he didn't shout. Shouting is a function that we need to do. You need to shout, maybe perhaps at animals now and then. You need to shout in order to tell somebody. Sometimes you need to shout at kids. Sometimes, right? But most of the time you don't need to shout, right? Shouting is considered it's something low, right? So the Prophet was prophesied as being wala sakhaban fil aswaq. He's not somebody who shouts in the marketplaces because that's kind of low, right? It's not a good thing to do. Right? You shouldn't shout to other people. You should go up and talk to them, right? Unless you're from Somalia. So they say that in Somalia there's something there's so much dust so it's very dusty, and so they have lots of dust in their ears, so you can shout. My mom said that. She said about Italians. She said the difference between a Swiss Italian, my mom's Swiss Italian. The difference between a Swiss Italian and Italian is that the Italian mothers will shout out their window to their kids, right? Come and eat your food, pasta's ready. Whereas Swiss will not shout out the window. So it's not good to shout. It's not a good thing to do. It's not good adab. Right? فإن سابه أحد أو قاتله فليقل إني امرؤ صائم. So I'm fasting. Leave me alone. وعن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كان أول ليلة من شهر رمضان إذا كان i.e. إذا وجد, right? So it doesn't say when the first night of Ramadan is X. It's just saying when it is, like when it happens. إذا حصل أول ليل, right? So this is what we call كان تامة, right? صفدت الشياطين ومردت الجن. Notice, so the devils are locked up and the rebellious jinn, right? But not all of them. وغلقت أبواب النار فلم يفتح منها باب وفتحت أبواب الجنة فلم يغلق منها باب وينادى مناد يا باغي الخير أقبل ويا باغي الشر أقصر, right? Oh you يا مريد, يا مريد الخير, come, يا مريد الشر أقصر, stop, right? أقصر to stop, right? To reduce from the word قصير, shorten. ولله عتقاء من النار وذلك كل ليلة. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has people who are destined for hell. They are believers who are supposed to go to hell for a long time, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets them free from hell. Right? And may Allah protect us all. Going to hell for a long time or a short time, all of it is very, very, very heavy. Right? One second of hell, and you're going to regret every single thing that ever happened. Right? SubhanAllah, so I just mentioned come back from jiu-jitsu. I'm not that fit. May Allah make me strong and healthy. So, I don't know how many calories you burn, like when you're wrestling, but it's like a lot. Like I came back and I was so sick, like I'm about to throw up. Because it's hard, right? And it's like that those moments, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just puts you in a situation. I remember it specifically. I remember I used to do karate and I remember the same thing. Like it was like very, very hard training and feeling sick, right? I mean, I don't explain, Dr. Asim, like the lactic acid going to your stomach or whatever it is, right? It can make you feel very nauseous. Um, uh, anaerobic, is that going to happen, right? Anaerobic respiration or whatever it is, and lactic acid is that how it works? It makes you feel sick.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Something like that, right? Anyway, I have that. I've always like, so and it was very, very hard. So it's like this point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all he's doing is putting like a very small amount of pressure on you. Very small, right? Like, not a big deal. And you're like, yeah, Allah. Like everything in your life changes. All your decisions in your life will change. Like whatever. Like, yeah, Allah, I'll do anything. Like that's not even hell. That's not hellfire yet. There's so many things in life. It's like you put people under a small amount of pressure, right? You, Muhammad Hashir, he's flying back to the airport. He misses his flight. They stop him. Immigration, something. They won't let him on the plane. Suddenly, you're in one difficult situation. Everything changes. Your whole perspective on life changes with a very small difficulty. Like we're very, very weak, right? So when Allah talks about his hellfire, this is something really, really, really bad. Like really, really bad. So one moment of hellfire, like super not worth it. Every single thing you ever did, that wasn't worth it. May Allah protect us from hellfire. Like anybody who's like thinks, okay, hellfire is not that bad, or okay, well at least they'll come out of hellfire. Like they're not. That person's not sane. It's not a sane way of thinking. It's not a sane way of thinking at all. May Allah protect us. Right. So ورواه الترمذي وابن ماجه ورواه أحمد عن رجل قال الترمذي هذا حديث غريب. Right. Meaning, what does غريب mean? It means تفرد به راو ضعيف. Maybe the only person rates it is so and so and he's weak, right? Or so and so who's good, but it's awfully odd that you know it's very odd, very strange. Um, that this person should narrate it, right? There's tafarrud in a way that's concerning, right? So we mentioned this before that by the year approximately 200, there shouldn't be hadiths that aren't known. So here Tirmidhi said, I've traveled around a lot. I've been a lot of places. I have only heard this hadith narrated from so and so from so and so. There's no other chain for it, right? So here, Sheikh Albani says, that's true. It's gharib, meaning in terms of a sanad, but in terms of a shahid, so he says, وَلَكِنْ لَهُ شَاهِد فِي الْمُسْنَدِ. There's another hadith with the same meaning in the musnad, and it's يتقوى به, right? Which comes next. Um, so that's why the hadith can be gharib and can be sahih. How? It can be gharib in that, like, or gharib and hasan, meaning, I'll give you an example. Um, I tell you something that you've never heard from any other Shafi before. That sounded odd, okay? So in itself, it's odd, and you've never heard a Shafi say that. That's kind of strange. But then you hear somebody else say that from a different source. So the source that I'm quoting is a bit funny. So I said Sheikh so and so said this. We've never heard anybody else quote Sheikh so and so saying that. That's kind of really strange. So my thing by itself is a bit odd. However, now it's strengthened in a totally different way by another thing that backs the whole idea up. Okay, so it can be gharib. It's this as a narration is odd. It can also be sahih. So you say that's why you can say hadithun gharibun sahih or hasanun gharib, right? So Tirmidhi would say hada hasanun gharib, right? How could that be the case? Through a shahid, right? This as a hadith to the same effect, right? But if it was another chain that's like it, then it's not gharib anymore, right? Because if you have another chain for the same hadith, then it's not gharib anymore. Right? Does that make sense? And so the key thing to understand is gharib doesn't always mean weak. It can mean weak, it can mean suspicious, and it varies from where you are in time. You will find a hadith that is a gharib. Like basically all hadiths are gharib in that they're narrated by one person. It says an Abu Hurairah, that's a gharib. But that's not a problem. Or if it says from Abu Salama or Zuhri from Abu Salama from Abu Hurairah, that's normal. Happens all the time, right? Now Malik from Zuhri from Abu Salama from Abu Hurairah, okay. But now if Malik narrates this hadith, I'm expecting the whole world to narrate it from Malik. If they're not all narrating it from Zuhri, then at least they should narrate it all from Malik, right? Because there's many hadiths that Imam Malik will narrate from Zuhri, and everybody else is narrating the same hadith from him. He has certain ashab, people who narrate from him, so they're probably all going to narrate with the same hadith. But now it's got now to the time of Imam Malik, and people are coming from Central Asia, from Spain to narrate from Imam Malik. And now we're coming to the end of the second century, and still the hadith is only narrated by you. You're the only person in Spain to know this hadith, and nobody else who went to study with Imam Malik knows it. And if I went to Central Asia or to Egypt or to Baghdad or Damascus, nobody else would know this hadith from Malik. That's now a problem. Now that's gharib and a problem, right? Unless there's some kind of unique reason, right? Does that make sense? It's kind of a shadh without any evidence, if that makes sense. Shadh is there's evidence against what you're saying. But gharib is this is just odd, right? You following Asim and Muhammad?
Yes.
Okay, so then it says, let's stop here inshallah. Let's just read the first hadith here and stop here. So this is وعن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أتاكم رمضان شهر مبارك فرض الله عليكم صيامه تفتح فيه أبواب السماء وتغلق فيه أبواب الجحيم وتغل فيه مردة الشياطين. Notice مردة الشياطين, the rebellious devils. Maybe there's other devils. ولله فيه ليلة خير من ألف شهر من حرم خيرها فقد حرم. Right? That person is really, if you've lost out on that day, you've really lost out, right? So that's why every single night, all things being equal, every single night we should wake up before Fajr and make dua. Because if you wake up every single night of the year, you are not going to miss Laylatul Qadr, right? You're not going to miss it. And what happens as well if you wake up every single night of before Fajr and you only miss it because you're sick or because this or because that, the angels do it for you, right? So the wird is very, very important. Every single day, I do this, right? Every single thing, I do this. Small, continual ibadah that you do every single day. And then if I'm stopped, something else happens, alhamdulillah, the angels do it for me. As opposed to, you don't always do that, do you? Right? You do that now and then, right? You do that now and then. So you don't always do that. So alhamdulillah, when you do it, you'll have the ajr. But when you don't do it, you won't have the ajr. As opposed to, you do this every day. Small amount of worship that you do every single day. When it's difficult, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send angels to do it for you, and you'll still get the reward, right? And so when you guys get married, right now you're not married. Oh, I'm married now, man. I have to spend time with people. I have kids. I have to wake up in the middle of the night. I have this. I have that. Oh my God, it's crazy, right? All these things happen. It's like, yeah. Well, did you do when you had time? Did you use it? Yes. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send an angel to do the prayers that you used to do, or the ibadah that you used to do, or the fasting that you used to do. But when you were able, you didn't do it. Too bad, right? So very important. خير إن شاء الله. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.